Hey, good morning, everyone. I just want to be brief here this morning. The revelation that it evolves from my heart and mind, embodied in my spirit of the eternal existence of the Most High. That which connects me, myself, and I with creation itself. Some of you have known without understanding of where you got the knowledge, but yet you have it. The truth about yourself. And no lie, as you were taught to believe. Wow, all this time, not knowing myself as I really am and actually exist. I just want to share with those spirits incarnated in these fleshly bodies and those without that can hear the sound of my voice. It is foolish for us to continue on learning about everything and everybody but ourselves. Not knowing oneself is the sin. We have no idea and no knowledge of how we fit in to the universal, most high Father and Mother of all things. Besides you and I, the essence of the Most High is in everything seen and unseen. I'm privileged to have come to know just a little bit more about me. Presently, after 70 years upon this physical plane, as it were. And the daily ride as I have landed here on 2 feet, standing before you. And of course, I'm sitting down at the same time. I'm taking the front row seat in life that I've come to know, that I have been given an opportunity to speak what's been placed on my heart and mind in these last days. As the world has ended over 60 years ago, and the world has no clue about that. In actuality, some may have heard before, and some the first time, but it's so anyhow. They have systematically destroyed all our leaders. For the leaders that were placed here to guide, direct, and protect, in most cases, us from ourselves. Yes, indeed, we have become our worst enemies. And without knowledge of self, that's exactly who we are. Don't consider first the other fella who's endangered by us in the ignorance of our true identity. And as you can see, by clever deceit and willful and purpose programming, we were taught to believe we are someone and something that we are not. You see, it is recorded on mainstream info, as it were, commercials. That worst enemy is within us, even though the existence of evil is rampant. But the enemy is the one that delivers us unto evil. The enemy, the one inside me that I didn't know was the problem all the time. It is such a great thing to come to know myself as I really am and actually exist. It is a great thing. In absence of this thing, this great thing that has come to be, I would have made this appearance and transformation without ever knowing myself. And that is the curse. So, in understanding the divine knowledge of self, that our origin, or that my origin, is my destination. And that is knowing who I am and where I come from, is where I'm headed. As the sea comes to the shore, and certainly it will return to itself, the sea. It is a magnificent, symbiotic journey, the going and coming with the knowledge of self. We teach, we aspire to know, and the same we prepare our children in that vein to know everything about everybody but ourselves. This is our demise, not knowing self. As you search the scriptures, you will find the proverb that says, "Man, know thyself." There's a great treasure there that shall be revealed. Seeking in truth and all honesty of attaining unto the knowledge, firstly and foremost, who you are. I gotta sound it out. I gotta utter it continuously. Throughout the ages and dispensations of time. But there in eternity, we reside, with or without ever knowing ourselves. Imagine being at home and traveling abroad, and at no time possessing the knowledge of self, but believing you are someone you were taught to be. No, beloved, that's not you, and that is not me. For a surety, I can sound it from the mountain high without any reservation whatsoever. I know who I am now. Now it's been made known to me. Like a snowball in the Sahara Desert, without mother or father to reveal the identity of the snowball. It melts away as quickly, if not quicker, than it arrived. The time it took, that is. For the evolution or of the season that created the snowball. It is like you and I are here for a short time, and then we're gone, as it were. Physically so. But there is the essence that remains. Who is that? What is that? And where did it come from? That is the Most High. Mother and Father of the universal structure and order of all things, including you and I, believe it or not. When I see you, I have come to know. I see me as the snowball, of course, without the knowledge of self. That's in absence of that knowledge. We are as the snowball. Is an expedient journey when you really look back and see where you came from and how you began to arrive without knowledge of self where you are today. Beloved, I offer up earnest and indeed sincere expectation that we find ourselves before it's too late. And the sun rising and falling, as it were, to the dust of the ground, as you and I. The, the hidden treasure in the earth. Why don't we know that about ourselves? In the testimonies of those that we have come to know really loved us and that we really loved while upon this journey in this day and time. From the origin and the destination of the reality of knowing what time it is, in eternity, that is. There exists time, ages, and dispensations. The, our our benefit is understanding who we are, where we come from, who loves us, and who we love. It is about the joy and the harmony and the unification of the spirit of the Most High as the mustard seed of the earth. That is abundant in the universe in knowledge of self. It's just here on earth, we don't know one another. And therefore we are most destructive to self firstly, and then the other fella, as it were, called. I beg to differ. It's the same air, it's the same sun, it's the same night and day that supplies us all in unification of nourishment, that sustains us in the pleasures of this so-called life that we have failed to really come to know and appreciate in abundance. Minus the love that we just cannot seem to retain. from morning to night, there's going to be an issue and a concern to interrupt that. And is it possible that it's because we lack the knowledge of self, as we were taught to be destructive and ignorant of self? It is probably, perhaps, the word sin, ignorance of self. They said, what was the sin of the angels? In your scripture, go back and search what the elders, what the ministers that were placed among us that had knowledge of such greatness, the knowledge of self. If you knew who you really are and how you actually exist, you wouldn't destroy yourselves, as we have done war upon war right in our own vessel. We take in the things we receive unto destruction. It's like we have the I can't help it. God loves you, the Most High, nourishes and treasures you. But guess what? They can't do a damn thing with you because you don't know the you are. Pack our children up from generations before until today to learn about everything, for the most part, and everybody. Insignificant in part, except self. Ourself. We are the treasure in the earth, but without that knowledge, we are truly a curse. Just ask anybody you know. And everybody you know is probably just an acquaintance. But you ask yourself in honesty and truth and listen, and self will reveal just who you are. With amnesia, you would tell you, I don't know who I am. I know who I was called, what name I was given. But beyond that calling and that giving, you were before that time and that place. You have no remembrance of being in the womb or as a seed within your physical father's nature or your physical mother's nature. Yet one without the other, you don't exist. As you come to know yourself. Yet you were there before the physical makeup, hooked up. You are and were the mustard seed. The scriptures, your scriptures talks about the mightiest one. yet the smallest, seemingly probably one of the most ignorant in this world, in this plane or physical existence, as we call it, of all the seeds, we are ignorant of ourselves. And time passed, as I see you, I see me in the physical. But there's a time when you transcend, and just before that moment, you realize you may not have a clue as to who you really are. And you're getting ready to transcend, and you know it. From the day we are born until the day we die, we know we're with knowledge that we're getting closer and closer to the so-called transitioning known as death. No such thing. But we believe it. But for the totality of the things that we have done in violation of self, we will pay for that. Nobody's getting away with anything. And we are caught upon the division of knowing, or willfully being deprived of knowing ourselves. We're taught that, not to know. We're taught how to not know ourselves. We're being taught about everybody else. There's no curriculum in your institutions, for the most part. I didn't say none at all. For the most part, the curriculums do not include knowledge of self. No, 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 no. That would be defeating the world's purpose of controlling and manipulating and to orchestrating the chaos that keeps them in power. Without the status quo of what we all have come to know, they cannot maintain power. Who is they? They don't know either who they are. They call themselves the rulers of the earth. The vicar of the universe of structure, including heaven, as it is called, or earth, inclusive of the universe. Foolishly, they are thinking that they're going to go on throughout the existence of time. It's just a small measure that they're able to retain pleasure. When you have ages and dispensations of time, that they have not a clue what transpired, what has been, and what has come to an end, as it were. The foolishness of their evil and ignorance of self has come and gone for thousands of years, thousands, millenniums of time. Upon time. But therein It exists in eternity that is defined as everlasting, always, is, was, and will be. As it were, the vessel that controls all eternity, or rather, all unification of the universal structure and order of all things, seen and unseen. Can you see your thoughts? Even those that have transitioned, can you hear their thoughts? Can you nonetheless see them? But yet they speak clearly unto us in visions and in dreams. They're the angels, as they're so called. I beg to differ. They are more than angels that exist. In greater in embodiment of the culmination of the Spirit of the Most High, as either one of them, including you and I. And there are orders, as it were. There's order as in hierarchy. Of the holy manifestation of the Most High Himself. And take the mustard seed. I've come to realize that I've been given a gift of knowing the mustard seed in me. And when I see me, I know I see you. If you have not come to know yourself, I know you as I know myself. I didn't acquire that knowledge on my own. It is through the nurturing, the love, the patience, the expectation of the reality of those that loved me before I knew myself. Or ever was called by any name in creation itself. The mustard seed is a measure and present in all creation. It's a sampling of everything and everyone and everybody in the universal structure and order of all things combined, seen and unseen. Of myself, I brag not, and I think nothing more of me than I see of you, except the knowledge that I have been so earnestly satisfied and appreciative to receive. I didn't have it, and in absence thereof, I was ignorant of myself and you. until that day came. Oh, when that day came, I marveled such a day existed in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit, body, and soul. Go! Glory! Hallelujah! Joy! Happiness! Awesome! Wonderful! To know myself. The glory of the mustard seed in the earth as you and I delighted to know for sure. I want to throw my hands up and shout from the mountaintop with no fear and no reservation whatsoever. I know who I am. Finally, vested in me knowledge of self. What more need I know? Once I've been given that blessing, truly, truly, I want it for you. I'm loving it for myself. I want to share it with all of you. I breathe to speak. The manifestation of happiness. Yes. Truly, 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 you are blessed. You just don't know yourself is the problem or the concern. Of the issue at hand. Don't matter which one. It's all the same. It is the importance of that knowledge that will take you through eternity in all time. You've been here before. You just don't remember yourself. You don't have a clue. You saw me look to the right. I envision the left. Those that sleep or slumber in either direction. I'm compelled to shout it out anyway. 4 a.m. in the morning. I sat down before 3 to prepare to speak unto you, beloved. Not just the black or the white or there in between or thereabout. That's not you. And that's not me. Black or white, That's dealing with the physical figment of your imagination that you are black or white. Somebody taught you that, told you who you were. So you act accordingly. And you gave up without hesitation your birthright as the mustard seed in the earth. What color got to do with it? What does a title got to do with it? If it's incorrectly applied, it takes away from your true greatness. I don't want to see you throw it away as those that have come and gone, tossing it to the side like it wasn't nothing. Somebody taught you how to do that and told you it was profitable. Lies and deceit. You are the mustard seed in the earth plant. The framework and the essence of the universal structure and order of all things is a mustard seed. Everything is present, walking around, clowning. In the earth plane without knowing itself. It becomes a circus of destruction. Look at it. Don't lie to yourself. That's you and I. For a time. That's all. This is your time to know yourself. You've been given a special orchestration, an affiliation in the creation of the universal structure and order of all things. If you only knew the truth. What am I going to do? Lie to you? I'm lying to myself, if that's the case. For I indeed have been privileged to know myself. That is more than just that. To know you too is a blessing. In unison and harmony in the heart of the Most High. I am just an instrument. I asked to come here. I previously did not know why. That has changed. And so have I. And it is my earnest desire to be that voice in the wilderness. Where there's death and destruction. I asked to come here. I'm a warrior from before. I have knowledge of myself as a warrior many times before in battle of all sorts with all kinds of enemies. The worst one was me. When I see you, I see me. You are your own worst enemy. Think you got it all figured out. Stop thinking. Know the truth about you. Who loves you? And why? Know your purpose. It is not as you play like. You acting your life out. You're not doing that. You've been programmed. You don't have no control of yourself. If you did, you would not be your worst enemy. You'd be your best friend. I come to tell you. I asked to come. I know who I am. And I know my purpose. I'm an instrument placed in the earth plane. And I know the same things. Before I got here, they come back to my understanding. Never went nowhere. Only understanding I lacked of the knowledge of self. No more. I am happy. Happy to say the testimony today. Sounding from the mountaintop. Clearly, unequivocally. Shout it out with no reservation at all. Not worried about what they do to me. Been done before. And I'm still here. Except now it's a little bit different. The world ended 60 years ago. Plus, those that don't know what a shame. They destroyed all your guides, your teachers, and your leaders in heart and mind. What I'm going to say. One thing for sure. I lie not to you. I stand in truth. I have an election to be before you today. 2022. We'll all be resting from our labor soon. And I don't mind a little rest, so I can be that much more effective when I emerge from the slumber that I purposely needed as rest from my labor. Because our labor's hard. Continuously. But yet, I know the rest. It's necessary. I don't have a lot of fancy words. Certainly no cunning demise. Yet the truth I present to you. I'm a warrior from before. I asked to come here. When I arrived, I had a clue what I would do. I was afraid of myself as a child. In the beginning, in the earth plane. I knew something else was brewing in me. My purpose, I couldn't explain it then. I sensed I was some kind of warrior. From time past, ascending into the present as a workday. In the orchestration of the Most High's purpose. I am an instrument of the Most High. And that's my kin. I am a son. I know who I am. And I come to tell you who you are. Believe it or not. When I see you, I see me. And I know what I'm looking at. I'm so happy I have come to know myself. And you too. In the consciousness of the reality. You are me. And I am you. And I shall journey to hell and back to tell you about it. Oh, yeah. I shall journey there. Wherever you are, I'm coming. I asked to come. I'm sick and tired seeing you like that without knowledge of yourself. You might want to hang out there after I talk to you. I don't know. Perhaps so. Just have to show me when I get there. And I want to hear you tell me too. Show and tell. You either for or you against yourself. I'm not. I know my purpose. I know they want to take me out as an instrument in the collection of the battle. It ain't happening. Physically, oh yeah, they got it all. They come get me. They poison. What do you call it? Judas. Even the enemy within, they will try. Ain't nothing happening there. No matter what they do to me, they cannot deter me from my purpose. Not fear, not death, not destruction of the same of this vessel. The spirit lives forever, always have lived. Continuous life, never death. And today, the shoe's on the other foot. The time for the enemy and all the lies and deceit has ended 60 years ago. They've been on a probationary period. Probationary period. It's a period. It's over. 60 years plus. I'm 70 in this physical body. At 19, I didn't know myself. I was drafted in the Vietnam War. Being prepared to go to battle for something I didn't understand and didn't believe anyway. Because I saw a war right here with my own loved ones. My so-called physical mother and father. Battling every day and had no clue as to why they acted that way. Witnessing that as I crawled, not yet walking, I heard the show and saw it too. Who orchestrated that? For a little child to see as I thought myself to be. Although a tiny little physical child, not yet walking, but observing, I did. Didn't like what I saw. Couldn't appreciate it at all. Didn't know why it was going that way. Still today, we argue amongst our so-called selves, our loved ones. As it were, that significant man or so-called woman. Witnessing our parents the ones that received the blessing of a child that they once were given unto their parents in likeness. What kind of example is it to war and argue before that child is even born? Yet in the womb, in gestation, we are our own worst enemy. We don't know who we are. That's why it's played out this way. It's not so. It's just the way it goes with those that govern us. They planned it that way. It's called divide and conquer, right? For the womb even gets together for pleasure or for the coming forth of these so-called angels. Which is the heart, body, and soul of the Most High, our mother and our father. Beloved, I come to tell you who you are. I've been through the fire. And sometimes it's a good thing to know. When the fire does its job. And it says, well done, my son. You went through the fire and you are ready. I'm a warrior from before. As there have been battles upon the earth, I've been through numerous fires in inequality, in equal number and greater. I asked to come here to talk to you. I've been distracted for 70 years, but today it ended. Today it has ended because I come to tell you who you are, the mustard seed. I'm on a live YouTube, babe. Good morning, sweetie.
Morning.
You want to give me a hug? Oh, okay. That's my wife. That's my queen. Given to me by the Most High. Now, firstly, she's the best of thee, yet she's number 3. Yeah, I've had 2 before her, but none like her. Man, none like her. Yeah, I asked for her. That's what makes the difference. I love the other ones. I did. I love them both. Yeah. Really, I mean, I still do. Actually, it's true. I do. Spiritually, they'll always be with me. And so shall my queen. What are you doing? Honey, I'm doing what you assisted me in being prepared to do. I'm speaking to my beloved who I come to see. When I see you, I see me. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to go on about this, but I know I'm caught up emotionally, and it's a good thing. I'm caught up. I'm glad about it. Yes, I am. I'm happy about it. Indeed, happy I am. I have to remind myself constantly how happy I am. I am fulfilling my purpose. I ask to be a part of the purpose of the Most High. I didn't know who I was. I had not a clue about myself. I ain't gonna lie though. I had something going there. I knew something was wrong with me or something was right. I knew something was wrong, but it just turned out to be right, what I knew. I'm in love with y'all. I don't know why, all exactly how. As I said, I've come to know. I always thought that, but I didn't know it. To the Most High enlightened my spirit. He showed me and he told me, I got to tell you. I'm going to show you too. I'm going to show you too, because I cannot be me without you. That's the truth. It ain't about you being black, and it ain't about you being white. You're all the same to me if your spirit is right. That's you knowing that you the mustard seed in the earth. It's the earth walking around. Know that you the mustard seed, not black, not white. The earth is holding the mustard seed of the Most High. Beloved, I come to tell you who you are. And not only that I love you, but the Most High told me to tell you, he loves you too. And I would be deceiving my own self at 70 years old in the physical body. Ain't no more of that happening. I ain't gonna lie to me, and I sure ain't gonna lie to you. He loves you, and he told me to tell you. He said, them is mine. Oh, it's been a while since he told me that. I have to adjust that. So my queen is hooking me up here now. It's kind of bright here, but here we go. Oh, well, I can't get a little something, hug or something. Okay. Well, I can still see you over there. It's all right. I just see your arm.
Here, just plug this in.
I done woke her up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. She come to assist me over here.
Plug it up over there, in the light thing.
This one?
Don't touch it.
This one?
Yes.
All right. Excuse me, y'all. I'm gonna be back in just a minute. She hooking me up there. Okay. It's kind of bright there, babe. How you put the spotlight on it?
Because they gotta see you. You can't be dark. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. I think they can see pretty good now. Thank you. So I'm delighted to. I got me some rest though. I went to bed early, so I got up early. I was in bed by maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock this evening, yesterday evening. And I really don't really like so much to be seen without being heard. You can see me, doesn't really give me pleasure if you can't hear me. When I can hear God, the Most High, as He's called, God, the Most High. Yet, not see Him. Oh man, woman or child, I tell you the truth. Man, woman, or child, I tell you the truth. To hear Him and not see Him was like a deficit in a sense, because I didn't have the confirmation. I didn't have the confirmation of His presence. You need, it says in your scriptures, in the mouth of two or more, or in witness of a thing, two or more is what's necessary. Of the same account. The show and the tell. And I'm like, thank you, Father. Thank you, Mother. The universal Mother and Father, which is one, not two. Them coming together, as it were, as one. Yeah, that's what I mean. Brought about you and me. And so the brethren that came before me, they comfort me in any existence, in any time, age or dispensation. They are with me, and they opened my eyes and gave me clues as to who I am. As in the Vietnam War, I didn't know myself, but through divine vision and revelation. Yeah, there's divine vision, and therein the vision, the revelation. You see, they showed me and they told me. In the midst of my detention by the enemy, as it were, I was caught up after an assault on my physical body. At 19, I was attacked, assaulted by 3 of so-called men in uniform, as I was a trainee. One of them was a trainee, and the other 2 were our trainers, drill sergeants. They attacked me one night. I'm not going to go into why in this stream, but I was attacked at 1971, 50 years ago. U.S. military base, Army. It was a black and white so-called issue that doesn't really exist, but they were programmed from childhood and thereafter, for the most part, to believe the black and white division. It's just in your scriptures, it said, divide the tongues. For they will be like unto the gods if you don't, like us, which they weren't. They were evil, thinking they were something they had been taught that they were not. Yet, I was attacked after they singled out the racial difference of the black and white war tactic, I'm going to call it, on the children of the Most High, which in truth, they belong to the unification of the spirit of the tribal coming on down to that day in 1972, early February. And they said they didn't like niggas. Well, of course, I wasn't that, but they were referring to me. And they said, although they weren't really soldiers, they were pretending to be soldiers to protect and serve and to lay down their life if necessary for the country and God. And they lied to themselves. And of course, they were lying to me. They said they were the KKK, and if I step outside, they're going to referee why 300-pound guy whooped my ass. And me being 140 pounds and, knowing something was wrong with me, because I'm a warrior from before without knowledge of myself, until I tried to avoid it with all diligence and said, excuse me, sir, but I'm not going nowhere with you, sir. And if you excuse me, I'm tired. I'm going to get some rest. Basic training camp has ended, and I'm tired. I've been shooting pool, and I had a little near beer. And if you excuse me, and as I stepped around the two on my right, two big fellas, 250 pounds, they had already threatened this man, so-called white man, a white youngster soldier, that if he didn't attack me, they was going to give him a dishonorable discharge. Now, they didn't have the power to do that, but they threatened him, and he believed it. My white brother on the earth, in the earth plane, thinking he's so-called white, but he's still my brother. As far as God is concerned, the Most High, he created everything, sun, moon, stars, and everything in between. So he, right, naturally as he is. Now, I had a clue about that, but he didn't act like he was God, the Most High Son. But yet, when he hit me while I wasn't looking and knocked me 10 feet, I had to say, Father, I realize now why I'm here. Briefly, I remember some things about myself. I said, forgive me, please, because I'm going to bring him to you. I don't know why he hit me, but he ain't going to hit me no more. So when he started, as I traveled 10 feet, I saw a vision. I thought the vision said I had actually caused to expire all three of them. As I was flying down from a punch that knocked me 10 feet. So I had asked for forgiveness. And by the time he took about 3 steps, as tall as he was, 6'3" or 4", about 300 plus pounds, as he walked upon me, my little frail body curled up after I landed from the blow, as I was a youngster, not yet walking, crawling around on the floor, but fell asleep in the motion of a crawl. I was seemingly They're helpless. He walked over to stump my head, and as he did the left, he raised the right foot, the fourth step, to crush my head, and I, excuse my expression, it is a parental audience, but I arose like a rocket, removing him and his foot from the ground. And I held him there, and I threatened to do him more harm if the other two that put him up to it touched me. What can I say? I was just 19. I was a boy. I was a child. Somewhat. But a warrior, yet nonetheless, not knowing myself at the time. I did know enough about me to ask the Most High to forgive me for my actions after I was struck. After they told me what they was going to do, and then they showed me by punching me in my left eye. Glaucoma today. It's part of my PTSD. Never made it out of basic training without ending up after that incident. There was a few others preceding that. They were actually attacking most of the black soldiers, so-called. They weren't black, but they called themselves black, or Negro, as some of them were called, and went by at that time, 1971. Some just refused to say I'm black. Some just say I'm Negro. I'm a nigger. As it were, they were none of that. Neither were they white, neither were they the KKK. They were God's children as well. I had a clue. I didn't have the knowledge, in truth. But when I held him in the air, he was immediately rendered unconscious. And blood was oozing from his neck. Yeah, I believe it was something coming out. My eyes were closed because one was, I thought, hanging out. And I kind of lost it. When I say I lost it, I lost touch with the Most High in my consciousness. So I say kind of lost it. And I knew, and I felt, prior to losing touch, I had asked for forgiveness because I kind of knew this boy is not white, I'm not black, and I'm certainly not a nigger. And of course, I had already asked for forgiveness because I was going to permanently make sure he wasn't going to do anything else to me physically. So, and I knew that was really a violation in itself, but maybe somewhat expected to be at fault, as I was, because I asked for forgiveness before it happened, or after the fact I was struck and knocked 10 feet. Yet, when I said, if you move to touch me, I'm going to end it for him. He was unconscious when I grabbed him. I was on my tiptoes. It hurt me within myself to be doing my brother like that. And he didn't ask for that, and neither did I. But they put him up to it. Was it the United States Army putting him up to it? No. Was it the United States putting him up to it? Not directly. Neither. Indirectly, some of them, heathen, evil heathen, put him up to it. They purposed it and had been jumping on the other so-called black soldiers, brown soldiers, and even probably poor white soldiers, as they were called. But this particular time, it backfired. And the boy ended up in a coma for 3 weeks. And I was detained for attempted murder. I guess that was one of the charges as a result of the physical assault and defending myself. I found myself locked up in detention, and I believe one of the charges was certainly attempted murder, along with a bunch of other charges that they had threw together against me, and some of them were somewhat true, but it was as a consequence of me being assaulted or discriminated against, or both. Yet the men were being assaulted physically. So this was my first time. I won't go into all the details right now, but I'll save that for another video, another stream, in detail what happened before this attack. It was planned. It was sanctioned by some of the officials, sergeants, captain, possibly lieutenant, and even a little higher. As I spoke to the colonel at that time about the unfair treatment that the other so-called black soldiers was experiencing. I wasn't experiencing no attacks, but because I was pretty much God-fearing, God-loving man. The Most High was my king, my prince. I just didn't know how to serve him. I just didn't know how to be right. And I just desired to be and do right. So I stayed away from everybody because I was more afraid of myself than anyone else. Since I had a clue I had been here before and that I'm a warrior from before. But that event, late February, early March, showed me that, hey, the events that took place around that time showed me that, yeah, there's something going on with you, Mr. Young fella. But there's a love for God that supersedes all that was going on with me. And I knew that boy was my brother, even though they were calling him, and he was going by white. He was a pawn like me. And they were using him as a poor white boy and me as a so-called poor black boy. And they just wanted to set an example that they're going to do the poor blacks and browns and whites the way they want to. These characters, these evil spirits. So now, when I released him, they were cowards that would allow me to beat the boy because I lost it for about 45 minutes after that. He was unconscious. Good thing, too. He couldn't feel a thing. Because when I recalled the beating that he took, it was not good. It was not a good thing. I was not happy with myself about it. And I had asked for forgiveness. So I had some premonition that he was going to get one. They didn't. He didn't. And I, for the most part, didn't either. Yet, it happened. I was detained in the stockade for 4 months, during which I got framed one day. Not before this boy had got out of the hospital. They must have given him leave, this soldier rather, this private. He got out of the hospital after 3 weeks. Sometime thereafter, he obtained leave, went home, and refused to come back because of what they had caused to happen to him and me. And when they went and got him, brought him back, they put him in the same stockade that I was in, detained and placed him in my cell. And they were hoping, now that I look back, that boy, he was a big fella, brawler, obviously. He hits mighty hard. He knocked me 10 feet. I mean, I've never been hit that hard in my life. I've been hit, not that hard, and I had never traveled that far as a result of being hit. Yet, He realized that when they put him in my cell, his hair was down to his shoulders, below his shoulders. He had a full beard, blonde hair, and they uncuffed him and he stepped in. And one look at me, he fell completely to his knees and asked and begged for forgiveness. And I never got to see him because he hit me from my blind spot. I, I knew they were saying that, you know, they told me his name in private. Yeah, I won't say his name right now because he's my brother, and I don't want to cause him any anxiety about what happened with me and him after he hit me. But when he got in that cell with me, and I had no clue, that was my first time ever seeing him when he hit me, and I didn't get a good look. So when he came in the cell and fell on his knees and cried like a baby, please don't kill him, don't kill him. I was puzzled and looked at him, and big old fella, he was tall as me, on his knees, and I like, wait a minute. And he got to moaning about he didn't know I was that strong, and they made him do it, and he told me the whole confession. They threatened him with a dishonorable discharge if he didn't attack me. What was I, in other words, what was he gonna do? Could he not attack me? Could he avoid doing something to me because they had threatened him with a dishonorable? That's what he said. And it dawned on me, he's the one that hit me and knocked me 10 feet. And my anger kindled, and I realized I was going to leap on him. And the angel spoke to me and said, son, wait a minute. You hear what that boy said? He was just a pawn. That's your brother. You knew that from the start. Yeah, he just got a little deficiency, albinism. He's still your brother. He just didn't, had that deficiency from generations before and come on down here, and he's all right, but compared to what was back then, but that's still your brother. And you knew that, but you just couldn't prove that. Say, now you hear what the boy said. He said they threatened him with a dishonorable discharge if he didn't attack you. And so what you gonna do? He ain't the guilty one. It's the evil one orchestrating it all. So now, this is your opportunity. They didn't tell me they set me up. See, I was blaming the boy, the two drill sergeants, and the United States Army, my superiors, and everybody else, Congress. They wasn't doing nothing, allowing the black boys to get jumped on and all that, and beat down, and 10, 15 jumping on one or two. And like I said, I won't go into that. But that's another day. So when I realized who the boy was, what he had done to me, and then I couldn't remember what I had done to him. I just wanted to do it again, whatever it was. I was getting ready to leap on him. And the angel spoke to me. The angel of the Most High. Clearly one singular voice, but he was speaking for all those that were present, and there was a multitude there. And he says, you hear what that young boy said? They threatened him. Now you can't hold him responsible for what they did. They're going to get theirs. Ain't nobody getting away with nothing. Look, ask him if he would be willing to write that information down on a piece of paper, like an affidavit. So when you go to your trial, you got enough stuff on there that you had some kind of participation in. But this particular thing, you weren't responsible. Yet, without his declaration, you're going to be held for that and more. Now, this is your opportunity to get all that cleared up. So go ahead, see if he'll say he's willing to sign a statement. He said yes. Oh yeah. After he was asked by me, and I asked him clearly, and I was surprised he said yeah. And right away he started writing, and I took that statement and gave it to my attorney, a legal aid attorney. I'll call him Mr. I'll call him Mr. LH. He was a government employee for legal aid. He represented me. and they would not let that boy's testimony be heard. So the attorney had filed a motion to have the case dismissed for lack of speedy trial. But he also wanted that letter admitted, and they wouldn't allow it. But I know this young man, if he ever see this YouTube video, if he ever see this live stream, he gonna remember that incident, this testimony, because he know that's him and he know that's me, and he know that's who did that to us as boys. God's children not knowing themselves. See, knowing yourself is one of the greatest things you got to know. See, if you know yourself, the wars ain't necessary because you know yourself. And you know that your brother is you. You're responsible for your brother. Yes, you are your brother's keeper. If he screw up, you may get blamed for it. And I've been in that position, that situation many times. Being with my brother, so-called, get you in a world of trouble. So now, moving forward, what happened next was, I guess he got up off his knees. From what I can remember, I got the statement. They separated him right away because they wanted him to tangle and me to tangle so they could say, oh, he assaulted the boy again. He tried to kill him once, I guess, because I was on trial for some charges, and it had to be attempted murder if he was in a coma for 3 weeks. He was on life support. But yet, I never heard no more from the young man, and I did go to trial. They did, have my court martial, and it was dismissed for lack of speedy trial because they left me in there 4 months without a trial. But right after that, this is when I really realized my connection to being a warrior from before. Is when they framed me for assaulting a military police officer while in custody after the boy and I had that reunion. That would be the second time I saw him during my military presence at that Fort Ord, California, 1971. It's in the archives what happened. Very true, no lies, no exaggeration. The boy exists, his family exists, his loved ones loved him. And they knew he came home, and he told them the story. So many of them know this testimony is now surfacing 50 years later. There is a book that has been written. My family has it. We are now editing the book for distribution about this ordeal prior to and even now. So that's why I don't want to go into a lot, but I'm going to finish it up from the erroneous charges that were alleged against me while in custody during the 4-month period pre-trial. I was actually attacked coming out of the movies because I didn't want to go outside. I just felt something was wrong with me. And if I go outside, I know the warrior that I am, spirit that I got, I'm going to have some confrontation. It wasn't about black and white. It could be with the black. It could be with the so-called white or with the so-called black. I was always in some kind of confrontation because I'm not going to take no bullying. And I'm pretty much laid back, and I'm kind of like incognito. I want to be left alone because I know I got a problem, and I don't want to see my problem come to light. I want it to stay where it's at. So I was a little bit, like I say, withdrawing from going to exercise, whatever. But this one day they forced me out. So they said they had to clean the cell. This was after the confrontation with the reunification with the young man, the private, did 300 plus pounds, 6'3" or 4". He and I, at the time, he was forced to hit a little old so-called black boy, which I wasn't. I was little, but I wasn't black. And neither was he white. So-called, 140 pounds. I went to the movies. They said I had to go out to cell for cleaning, and either I'm going to go out, they're going to carry me out. So rather than have any more confrontation, I said, do I have an alternative? And they said, yeah, you can go to the movies or you can go outside for recreation, but we have to clean the cell. 40-man cell, everybody gone but me. I refused to go, but I went that day. Now, nobody knew I was there but me. Everybody else is out there playing in the yard, uh, getting exercise. I'm in the movie, and I had a wet dream. So I woke up after the wet dream. Hadn't seen my family, my mother, and my girlfriend, nothing. 6 months total. Had never been away from home in 19 years, that long from my mother. So, my loved ones. Girlfriend, yeah, I've been away. I haven't had that many girlfriends. Anyway, I was so wet. I was easing out the seat in the back of the movie, and I got to the aisle and could see the light. And was going to go to the bathroom, but I said, no, I better go on back because it looked like I'm going to change everything I got on below the waist. So I kind of walked real slow so I wouldn't soil my pants any more than they were. And when I got to the front door, I didn't realize I had been there for several hours. It was morning when I got in there. So it was like noon when I came out. The sun was high in illumination. And when I opened the door, the sun blinded me. And so I immediately covered my eyes. And as I covered my eyes, I felt a horrendous kick in my right knee. And I tried to open my eyes and understand what had happened to me. I said, now I didn't had this wet dream. I walked to the aisles and get to the door to go change. And now I got kicked. So somebody had to know I was on my way. They were watching me. I didn't know they were watching me. And so when I opened my eyes, I saw this one of my little white brothers, as it were, so-called white, blonde hair. Oh, he was like one of them, come straight out of Germany during the Holocaust. Blonde hair, blue eyes, little fella too, about my size. He would have been no more about 160, 145 maybe. He about 160. And as I tried to reach out to grab hold of him when he kicked me, he kind of stepped back and started running, and I almost fell because I thought I had him, but he got away from me too quick. And so I limped on back into the entrance, what's called ICEL, Stockade Correction Facility. And as I entered the door, the guard of armor there, or two of them, say, "Hey, Private Ray, get your stuff. You going to J Block." I'm like, "What is J Block?" Well, population is population, but J Block is a consolidation of some of the worst kind of people, they say, or people that are allegedly the worst kind of people and have been charged with crimes, guilty or not. But most of them, they're claiming, are the worst kind, and they need maximum security. So J Block is maximum security. Takes you out of the population of 4,000 men down to 60 cell blocks. And I was placed in one of them from an alleged assault against an MP while in custody. So this is 2 physical charges against me on my record. Now, I was placed in J Block in a cell. My bed, my baseboard, and my toilet was 1 unit, maybe about an 8 by 6. That's how big the cell was. And I won't go all into all the preliminaries of what happened and different things that took place. But this one night, not too long after I showered, it was a really kind of troubling experience in the shower, because they would let most of the men shower together, but me, I had to shower alone. But this last time I remember showering before I was released there. They chained me to another confinee. His name was Billy Smith. He had been to Vietnam. I hadn't. He was considered the second most dangerous, well, excuse me, he was considered the number one most dangerous man on the base. Allegedly, he had been involved in an explosion that injured, I don't know how many, but it was supposed to have allegedly killed 3 officers in their tent while they slept. That was not uh, proven whether it was or was not, but allegedly it was. But this is the man they chained me to. And he was shackled, and so was I. He was butt naked, and so was I. And he had no freedom to wash himself, yet I was somewhat free, my hands, or at least one of them. And I washed myself. And later, when I saw him just dazed and looking without acknowledging me or trusting me, he wasn't going to get clean because he didn't have the use of mobility of operating the soap or the towel. So, being the person I am, knowing that that's somehow my brother too, I put a little soap on his towel and washed him as best I could, let him rinse off, and I called him and say, "Hey, we done." And they took us out, unhooked me from him, took me to my cell. But I didn't realize that there was a plan to come in to really do me some bodily harm. I don't know I didn't know who this man was at the time. And I did say I wasn't going to mention any names, but his name was Billy, Private Billy, or I don't know what rank he was, but I later found out that his name was Billy. I don't know if he told me or what, but I later found out his name was Billy Smith. I saw a picture of him in the paper or something. And it was either that night or shortly thereafter, about 3 in the morning, about 3 military police came into my cell while I was having a dream or a vision. I was actually in a dream and a vision up on the top of a mountain with a hatchet cutting wood, dressed like an Indian. My character wanting to be alone, isolated, don't want to associate with the so-called black or the so-called white, because it just seemed like it was trouble gonna happen. And I was always trying to avoid it. So my mother had this saying, "You always in the trouble." And I was like, "Mom," she said, "Yeah, your daddy and you just alike." Whatever, kind of put a sour expression on my face and on my heart too. I didn't believe it, and she didn't either. She loved it, but she just said that. But to me, it was like a blessing in disguise because it made me always want to do the right thing. So as I'm up on the mountain, the right thing is to stay away from trouble. I don't want to be, but the spirits came over me of the ancestor warriors now. And they said it's time to go to war. Well, I hadn't been to a war. I had not been to a physical war, I thought. But as I remember, psychologically, and in boot camp, that altercation with the private and the 2 sergeants that put him up to attacking me, but mainly my community in which I live, the so-called black community, the brown community. We were at war with ourselves. Yeah, the blacks against the blacks, the blacks against the so-called blacks against the brown, the so-called blacks against the white, and the police was against us. They was killing us, beating us, hanging us, doing all kind of things to us. I heard as a young boy before graduating high school. And after high school, I got drafted right into the military. And they were starting that mess right on the base while we was in basic training. I couldn't understand it. I knew I wanted to be alone. That's why I want to be alone. I won't be around none of them. They act foolish, crazy. Don't they know they God's children in effects in the physical body, the mustard seed in the earth? All of them. They let color deceive or conceal their identity. They're using the controllers, the manipulators that's robbing the earth and defiling the people. For generations, they've been doing this. So it's starting to come back to me now. So as I'm up on the mountain, still want to be alone. The spirit, the angels, the ancestors, you call it what you want. I'll call them all of the above. But they were the warriors of heaven and earth that were willing to lay down their life for not just their families, but for the land that God gave them, for the country, as it were, for the air, the water, the wind, and the rain, to protect it all. They were willing to give their life. Not just the black, so-called, or the so-called white or brown. There's some with the pure, natural love of the Most High's creation, especially the mustard seed. Anyway, 3 a.m, they came in while this vision and dream was going on. I don't want to be a part of this world. I don't want to be part of this war, nothing like that. I don't want to be, a matter of fact, I don't even think I'm in this world. I'm on a mountain cutting some wood. For what reason? I just want to be alone and do something constructive. I don't want to hurt nobody. And the angels, the warriors came and said, it's time to go to war, son. Well, they said it's time to go to war. They didn't call me son. And I'm like, I was told don't talk to y'all because hey, these spirits is evil. You can't talk about spirit. Now, not recalling at this moment in the vision, in the dream, that in my community growing up, all I heard about was conflict and war against the children, both so-called black and white. I saw it in the pictures when I saw many of our portrayals of our young men stripped down, naked. Their members have been removed. And for what crime? It didn't reveal, just showed what happened to them. And I heard the testimonies as I grew up as a young boy, knowing it wasn't right. But as I said, in the dream, all these things and remembrances were present with me. And I knew why I was up there now, to be alone and away from all that. So when they come and told me that it was time to go to war, I had never been to a physical war in my recollection, but I had been in time past, which I had no recollection clearly, but I had a clue. So now, I ignored them, purposely so. And I thought my response, as a result of them speaking to me about war, I said, well, to myself, I've never been to war, and I certainly ain't finna go. Not realizing that I was in a cell, being detained for some seemingly crimes, allegedly so. Protecting oneself, yeah, I knew that in the back of my mind, but anyway, I'm confronted with a new peril. The spirit's like, hey, I gotta come with them to go to war. And I'm like, I don't know you, and I don't know, I've never been to war, and I'm not going nowhere. And I was getting ready to put up a fight. And they kind of like ceased to speak to me because I responded in this way. I'm not going, I don't know what war, I've never been to war, and I'm not going nowhere with you. And leave me alone. And I went back to cut the wood in the dream or the vision. And in that instance that I raised the hatchet to cut the wood, my right hand, they were on my left. And so was the boy. My brother, so-called white boy. He didn't know who he was, and I didn't either. He was on my left too when he hit me and knocked me. So I was familiar with, hey, on the left side, they come up on you, something might happen. You have to be on guard, prepared. You don't get hurt. And you don't want to hurt nobody as a result of that. So if you protect yourself, you'd be better off than if you got hurt. Okay, so anyway, I ignored them. Went to cut the wood, raised that hatchet, and they said, it's time to go to war again. I said, well, you keep on talking because I got the same response. I ain't going nowhere with you. So I think I cut the wood. And I cut it so hard, I didn't have to cut it twice. It just hit it one time. It was severed. I was angry with them. I say they're demons and spirits talking to me in my I can't see them. They talking to me and I can't see them. That ain't happening. So I raised the hatchet up again. I didn't hear from them. And I heard on my right some more. And they said it's time to go to war. Same thing they said on the left. And I'm like, I don't see you. And I'm not going nowhere with you. Didn't you hear what I said to them other demons? And I called them demons. That's not who they were. They were warriors from before. Spirit speaking to me in the reality of the presence in which I was confined. And when I realized this is getting monotonous here, I'm going to have to get out of here, leave this mountain and go somewhere else because I'm not going to be subjected. So I jacked that hatchet up again. I was angry. I was going to cut that wood and I was going to move on. And before I could cut it, they said, well, we need somebody to lead the braves. Well, that led me to my grandmother, full-blooded Cherokee, I was told. Well, not my grandmother. My grandmother's mother was full-blooded Cherokee, as I was told by my mother's mother. Her name was Amanda. Her mother's name, full-blooded Cherokee, her name was Nerva, like the wind and the nerve. And when they said, we need somebody to lead the braves, I connected to them in such a way I had never connected to a spirit before, conscious or unconscious, or in a dream or in a vision. At least more so, way more so than the ones on the other side. But then by that remark, they needed someone to lead the braves. I'm like, well, wait a minute, who am I? I ain't finna lead no braves. Anyway, but I connected the ones on the left and the ones on the right to my grandmother. And obviously my father's mother, because she was also full-blooded Cherokee. I would find out in 2019 that was the case. I was contacted by my father's only living brother out of 24 brothers and sisters. He was the youngest and the only living one. He called me. It's only two of them left, I understand. But anyway, back to the vision and the dream. When I connected the two tribes on the left and the right, something happened, and I lowered the hatchet in shame. But I said, I connected the dream with the reality of being in the cell in that instant. And I said, I'm sorry. I know y'all must be family, not demons, not evil. But that's why I'm in the shape I'm in. I'm locked up for something that I didn't do, but because I defended myself against someone doing something to me that was threatened and coerced to do it to me. And when I attempted to survive and protect myself, that person was hurt severely. And I had asked for forgiveness and I'm sorry, but here I am now. This is why I'm in the shape I'm in this cell and in a dream on a mountain. How could that be? All three together. What happened to cause me to be in the cell, number two, what happened, number one. And then now, number three, I'm talking with y'all in my heart and mind. No words were passed, but clearly the communication was clear. And they were happy that I recognized them. And I was happy, but sad because I wasn't going to help them because I don't want to fight in the war unless it's absolutely necessary. And I don't think it's necessary with all you warriors out there. You can handle it without me. Go ahead. What you need me for? I don't need to be at war. I don't want to be at war. So, but I'm sad that I'm not going to help you because I know you're family now. I could see the connection here. So as I bowed my head in shame, the hatchet came down real slow too by my side, and I condemned myself. And at that moment, that very moment, was the second time that God had spoke to me, and I had forgot about the first, or I had no recall up until then, and I remembered. And the Most High God said to me, if I don't cooperate with what I thought to be demons, those are angels. They are warring angels. And I'm a part of them. And they came to let me know who I am and what my purpose is, about my purpose. And then he said, if I don't cooperate with them, he said the key word, they're going to destroy the children, the enemy. I woke straight up without a breath, a moment of contemplation. I was on my feet. The hatchet was raised, and I was vindicated to be a part of the battle. No more was I not a part, but I was one with the warriors. And I yelled at the top of my volume, and I opened my eyes. And I saw something moving on my left and my right. In the vision straight ahead, I saw two military police guards in the hall. But the shadow of one at the foot of the bed rose up as I was yelling, but not high. he just rose up where I could see him. It was like he was crawling in there at the foot of my bed. And when I yelled, he didn't know whether to get up because I was up on top of the bed, the one triple unit. And to my left, I swung the hatchet that disappeared. But my fist that clenched the hatchet hit him right on the smack center of his chin. If it didn't knock him cold, it certainly knocked him down. One punch, I almost fell off the bed. And there was one on the right. So as I pushed off the wall, closest to me, still on the bed, I uppercut the one on the right. Same place. The overhand right hit the one on the left. The hatchet had disappeared in the dream or vision. But I was fully active and in motion. And I stepped to the center of the bed as the other one slid down off the wall between the bed, my bed and the wall on the right. And I did a roundhouse kick. It's like the hand of the clock moving precisely to 12. Right on the center of his chin. He went backing down. And the other two was dragging him out. And the other two was trying to crawl out or they was helping him to escape. Now, what took place in that room, I reported to a 6th Army IG inspector who came to visit me shortly thereafter. No one came back in my cell for anything. They never came in my cell anyway. They just slid the food up under the door. Unless I was coming out for exercise. They never came in before. They was in the room when I was having the vision and the dream. So I realized from that time, it had to be around late March, mid-April. Not too long after that, a couple weeks later, the Inspector General, Major General came in to speak to me about a letter I had wrote to the 6th Army Inspector General, IG Inspector, Congress, Councilwoman of my district, councilman, a woman, President of the United States, Congress. 15 copies of one letter went out. I still have a copy of that letter today, of the various things that were plaguing the so-called black and brown soldiers. To the racist enemy that was being orchestrated and to attack the so-called black and brown and poor whites, because some of them, I assume, were being attacked. As it were, they were being used. And holding fast to what happened is when I was released after that interview with the Major General Inspector. He said, "I've come to get you out of here. Your letter has reached Washington, and quite a few Inspector General's office, and quite a few heads and eyebrows have been lifted.